Hi, good afternoon. I'm meteorologist Autumn Lewandowski. We have meteorologist Mary Beth Roble inside the studio. It's the better place to be right now. It's a little cool, and at least at the moment, there isn't rain coming down here in the South Towns. How's it in downtown Buffalo, Mary Beth?
Well, I have to tell you, Autumn, it is very changeable. Every 5 minutes, it's something different. Sometimes you see a little bit of sun, and then the next time you go get into a very heavy down, and even see beyond the hood of your car. It's like rain coming down at times today.
Yeah, and it can be really heavy downpours. I was at the gym earlier and I overheard a gentleman talking to someone on the phone that said, if you can't see, pull over, just pull over, you'll be fine. So I know that that rain can come down and come down really quick. Those lake effect rain showers that move through, I mean, they are just, there's so much moisture within them. We also have a flood watch for Erie and Chautauqua County. Speaking of the rain, it's now coming down yet again. This is lasting through late Tuesday night. I haven't had a chance over the last, I don't know, 12 hours to take a look at any of rain totals. I don't know, Mary Beth, if you know how much the airport has received, or I know the North Towns really hasn't gotten as much as we've gotten, especially in
Yeah,
the South Towns.
airport just yesterday alone received over an inch of rain, and I haven't gotten the totals for today, but I bet it's going to be just as high.
Yeah, the
So with this very long duration event, we could see up to 4 inches of rain between now and Tuesday night
Yeah, you
total.
could. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. You could see that kind of pinwheeling across the area that someone was just asking, Jacqueline, any more thunderstorms? There are isolated lightning bolts in everything that's coming in off the lake. I had a few earlier today. And speaking of thunderstorms or even severe type weather, we've had a lot of different waterspout pictures come in. This one coming from our very own Aaron Mankowski. If you could see where his finger is pointing, it's right to the base of a waterspout earlier this morning. So a
Yeah,
very
I got to tell you this. I talked with Aaron and I said, "How did you get that?" He said, "Oh, I was going to the post office. I walked over to the post office and I saw these water spouts popping up. So I just had my phone on me and I walked to the shoreline. So that was kind of cool."
Yeah, this type of weather, the cool air, the systems coming right off of that really warm lake puts us right in the category in order to see these things spin up. And they've spun up, I mean, all over the place. And there were ominous clouds too. So we got some pictures coming through. Dunkirk, I believe, is maybe the next slide that we have. The clouds just kind of hanging tight there. This is from TW Benjamin. Use the hashtag see it on 7 because we like to see all of these pictures as well. And the one from downtown Buffalo, that's the next slide as well. You can see that very well pronounced water spout connecting right to the water, kind of the spray coming up as well. And we've even gotten a few more pictures into our inbox that I haven't been able to get into our system just yet, but it's been really neat to see. Hopefully no one is out on the water because these can cause damage. They're through late Tuesday. The Lake Erie temperature is right at 70 degrees. The colder air aloft is cold enough that we can get these things to really spout up, and not only on Lake Erie but also Lake Ontario as well. And the currents, I mean, it's just been in the 50s, variable clouds. We've had sunshine, even. It's now 53 degrees at the airport. I mean, Mary Beth, the wind, oh, can we talk about the wind right now? That southerly wind, 20
Yeah.
miles an hour. Gusts are higher than that. It's a
Okay.
chilly Monday.
Right, exactly. So we have potential wind gusts this afternoon up to 40 miles an hour. And I noticed too, driving back into work this afternoon after lunch, a lot of the leaves are falling off the trees because of the strong wind gusts. And with the rain, it's going to make it even slippery on the roads this afternoon. So, especially if you're going along the I-190 or the 90 itself, and you run into one of those gully washers, don't be afraid to pull over or at least slow down, turn on your lights too. and then leave a lot of stopping distance between you and the next person. So temperatures right now, they're in the low 50s. Of course, the wind is making it feel cooler, but the humidity is so high, it doesn't feel super, super chilly out just yet because we have that really, really high humidity. The temperatures generally are going to be staying in the mid 50s. What you see is what you get. During the overnight lows, we're not going to see especially chilly numbers, but I don't think we're going to get much drying out as we go
Mm-mm.
through the day.
Oof.
So it's kind of like status quo weather for you. And you can see basically uniform temperatures across the North Towns. We're in the low to mid 50s. For 50s, we have 63 along the lake shore, the Lake Ontario shoreline, at Wilson, 61 at Newfane, but generally 50s, some low 60s. There are some 40s. It's a little cooler, if not a
Oof.
little here across southern tier valleys. And there we, especially this morning, Autumn, we were finding some winds gusting up to 30 miles an hour. So I would even say there's a bit of a wind chill for the folks living in the southern tier, but not
Oh my gosh, for sure.
much here in the metro area.
Right. And 50 during the day with rain and a real gusty breeze doesn't feel great, but 50 at night, that doesn't seem so bad. So the numbers really aren't going to fall too much for the night. But again, with that watch that we have in place, it's just reminding us that we're going to continue with these heavier downpours. And some places are getting more rain than others, like the Niagara Frontier, not dealing with as much whatsoever. That's why they're not even within that watch. And even Southern Erie County is getting a whole lot more than Northern Erie County with these kind of pushes of rain that have been coming in. So that's something to keep in mind. Not everyone deals with that really high amount of rainfall, but this is going to continue. It's a long lasting event. That watch goes until late tomorrow night. Mary Beth, through tonight, even we're looking at the southern tier, and then right through the southern Ontario between Lake Huron, kind of all of that moisture coming from the upper lakes as well is going to
Yeah.
be moving through. It's a interesting setup. Good thing it's not snow.
I know. It's like the heaviest rainfall totals, though, are right along that Lake Erie shoreline. So, really, the driving, I think, is most difficult on like the 190 south and then the 90 going down to Erie. That's where you're most vulnerable, running into those huge gully washers, the blinding rain. So again, if you run into one of those between today and tomorrow, just don't be afraid to slow down and even pull over if you have to. But definitely leave room between you and the next car in front of you, just so we keep.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know if you just broke up on my end or if people watching kind of had that break up on you as well. But it's one of the biggest pet peeves that I have is that we all have these daytime running lights. But if we don't actually turn the lights on, the tail lights aren't on, and
Right.
we can't see each other when
Yeah.
it's the sky is as gray as the ground.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. I think we have another question. It's kind of
Yeah,
hard.
South Cheektowaga getting pounded all morning with heavy rain, small hail, losing some branches and hoping the winds don't get much more. Yeah, we're pretty much dealing with what it's been like all day long is kind of what it will continue to be into the night tonight. We'll put this through motion as well to show you where the rain's going to end up and how much longer we have to deal with this towards tomorrow morning. We're going to
Yeah.
be in varying amounts of rainfall again, some heavier downpours, especially into northern Pennsylvania. And notice you still have a lot of connection from the upper lakes. So let's run through Tuesday and see where this goes, Mary Beth.
Yeah. Well, at least tomorrow the wind won't be. In fact, the winds will start to settle down, but not until later tonight. So we're going to find those strong wind gusts through the better part of today and this evening. But tomorrow, less wind, but we're still going to have those heavy downpours from time to time. And I did mention that the heaviest rain is right along the Lake Erie shoreline, but not limited to the shoreline. So even a little farther inland, you can see those heavy downpours as well. But the most frequent ones will be along the Lake Erie secondary shoreline going into this period. But notice on Wednesday, the showers begin to thin out. The morning looks pretty soggy, but once we go into afternoon, I think maybe we'll be left with some drizzle, but we won't have those heavy downpours and thunderstorms. They'll be gone by then.
Right. It still won't look or feel great, but at least it won't be huge downpours across the area. And speaking of which, how much rain there are still from this point onward projected rainfalls. Some of that heaviest again along the lakeshore, the southern tier, and that is a pretty prolonged event. Again, from the amount that we had earlier through yesterday, now today, and then to add on top of everything that has passed into the next 24 hours. This model not bringing too much additional for Buffalo, although that can change if we get any of those bands to lift a little further north, that can go up as well. But anywhere from a half an inch to 2-3 inches of rain for a portion of the area.
Yeah, right. Again, you can see the highest total is right on the shoreline, Dunkirk, 2.5 inches, compared to just under a quarter of an inch here in Buffalo. So
Yeah,
you
and
just,
that's just tonight. We
yeah,
still
right.
have some time to go through after that.
Driving wherever you're driving in Western New York between now and late Tuesday night, especially because the weather can change very, very quickly with this setup.
Right. You have to think of it like it being, lake effect snow bands. It's not lake effect snow by any means, but
Right.
you get that heavy rain to come down and it just hits you because, you've got these narrow bands that
Yeah.
may just come through really quick and you can't see a thing. So you got to be mindful of that over the next 24 hours for sure.
Mhm. Yeah. So, yeah. So, do we have any more graphics here in here? Oh, yeah. This takes us
Yeah,
in
this. Mhm.
uh, Wednesday morning. So, even look at Dunkirk now. They're up to three. Even Jamestown is clocking in with a lot of rain going into Ellicottville. Um, and I did notice that too. Even last night, we had some really strong cells across the southern tier. And this is already saturated ground. During the summer, like in August, they had a lot of thunderstorms and a lot of flash flood watches. So they really don't need the rain like the metro area does. But at least we're getting some here. And I think autumn too, this is going to help really to lessen the drought conditions around here. In fact, after this event, there'll probably will be no more drought.
Yeah, we won't need any more rain after that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We do want to show you that 7-day forecast because there is light at the end of the tunnel. The good news is the soaking rains and what we have to deal with is all during the week. And we finally see this break and eventually the sun comes back and temperatures go in the right direction, more seasonable into the weekend and stays dry through the weekend as well.
Yeah. So if you turn on your, you might not have to do it. You might be able to turn it off by the weekend with a high of near 70 on Saturday. So this is good. Save a little bit on the energy bill.
Exactly. And, I didn't get out to mow the lawn on this past Saturday, and I knew I was going to have to wait till this coming weekend. So it's nice to know between Wednesday and Saturday, we'll have a lot of time to dry out before I get that mower onto a very lush and probably very muddy backyard right now.
Have a direct line with.
You know what? One more thing, since we got, a couple minutes here. If we move to that next slide, Hurricane Ian, I was looking at this. I had a wider stance of a couple different models several days ago. Looking at this low pressure system, I go, oh, that's going to be interesting as we head into next week. So this one is going to be gaining a lot of strength over the next couple of days. Jamaica and Cuba going to be really impacted by this. Tuesday to Wednesday becoming a not only just a major hurricane, but a category 4 where winds could be 140 miles an hour. And Mary Beth, over the last couple of days, what has really happened with the system, at least it starts to go down in the intensity. However, this storm doesn't want to move towards the end of the week and almost stays quite stationary into the weekend.
Yes, and this part of Florida too has not seen like Tampa hasn't seen a hurricane in like a direct hit from a hurricane in over 100 years. So I just hope that the people there, um, they don't let their guard down because of that. Like, oh, it hasn't happened here in 100 years, but really the track is more favorable for a Western landfall, a Western Florida landfall. And even with a category 2 storm, typically the strongest winds and the storm surge are in the northeastern quadrant of the storm. And
Right.
that's exactly where the
That's
West.
it.
So, like if you go down to Clearwater, Florida, there's a lot of, it's just kind of like barrier islands, and there's a lot of high rises there, a lot of hotels, condos, restaurants. And the storm surge right now, I think they're saying at least 7 feet above sea level. So a lot of those buildings, at least a half of the buildings might be underwater or partially underwater. So
Right.
it's not a situation. But again, there is still time. It may take a more westerly track, but I think the models are starting to converge now on somewhere in Florida landfall on the western side.
Yeah, so that's something to take caution of. So it's Monday now. What is it? Are we the 26th?
Mm-hmm.
So the 28th, 29th, 30th,
Yep.
potentially into early October along the eastern coast there. So just something to, again, if you're maybe going to travel down there, if you're visiting people, if you even have flight connections that take you through Florida, all of that can really be snarled up by this system for the middle of the weekend and into the weekend.
Yeah, I bet a lot of the airlines will offer a free change of planes, I'm sure, because right now the entire state of Florida is in a state of emergency. So I don't think that's going to change now and then.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Want
So
out to then come in.
exactly. So that's kind of, I mean, there was so much to talk about today,
Yeah,
but that's everything that we're keeping an eye on. I don't know if there was something else that you have seen over the past. I knew that you were working. You worked last night, right?
I did. Yes.
Yeah. So you've been a little more privy to everything that's kind of happening on top of us than I
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Well, it's just kind of like a same old pattern for us. It's more rain and more heavy downpours. And it started yesterday and it will continue till Wednesday morning. So we're
And
stuck with,
then we dry out into the weekend. But
yeah.
until then, we'll keep an eye on all of our creeks and our streams
Yep.
and the wind that just doesn't want to let up. So I'm going to get inside. I'm going to get Natalia ready.
Yeah.
She's even saying it's cold with her chocolate mouth. We're going to get inside, get ready to get going. And I'll see you. I'll see you at work in just a
Oh,
few minutes here.
and drive carefully, Autumn.
I sure will. All
Okay, well,
right.
take care,
Take
everybody.
care, everybody.
Doodles.